Welcome aboard Flight 85 of Filmi Ladies Airlines. We are your captains, Pitu and Beth, and we do have some flight attendants. They are assorted animals, but they are very unhelpful and lazy, and they are sleeping right now. So please don't call them for assistance. They do not care. But we care, and we want to talk to you about the latest movie that Beth and I just saw. And when I say just saw, I mean I literally just got home from the movie theater. And that movie is Crew. This movie stars Tabu, Bebo, Kriti Sanon, Jaideep Ahlawat, Tripti Khamkar, Diljit Dosanjh. This movie is a lot of fun, you guys, and it is directed by Rajesh Krishnan, who is a director I have never heard of, but apparently he made Loot Case, and it's really cool. So, Bet, tell me, did Crew live up to your expectations?
I was just thinking that very comparison, and yes, it did.
Yay!
And when's the last time that happened? I don't know. I can't even remember. Actually, that's not fair. Jawan and Rocky or Ronnie both lived up to my expectations, so and probably so did Patan actually. But yeah, it I don't get to see that many things in the cinema these days, and apparently most of them are at least meeting my expectations. Flight attendant Hugo, who is very new to this job, is right here, so he might make his first appearance on the podcast. I had a delightful time watching this movie, and everyone around me seemed to be having a delightful time, which was lovely. And
Same.
I very much enjoyed it. And I have not already forgotten it, which is unlike some other things when I enjoy them and then they're out of my head. But this one I'm very glad I got to see in the cinema. I will certainly see it again when it comes on streaming.
Mhm.
Huzzah!
Yay! Did you watch it with your Ponniyin Selvan friend?
No, he was not able to
Oh
come,
no.
so I just went on my own. And when I first got there, I was about 10 minutes early, maybe. Nobody in the cinema at all. And I thought, oh no, I'm gonna have the cinema to myself, and I don't want to for this movie. But many people did come. So
It was the exact same experience I had. I walked into the theater and I was like, wow, there's no one, which I mean, it's a Monday after. Oh, hi, Hugo. Oh, flight attendant Hugo is looking very cute in his fur coat. Yeah, so like there was no one there. And I was like, well, it is a Monday afternoon. It's like three
yeah.
o'clock. Like, why would like people have jobs? So of course they're
Yeah.
not here. But then there were all these promos, and then people started trickling in. And before you knew it, there were so many people in my movie theater, which seriously shocked me,
Mm.
but they really did seem to enjoy the movie as well. So, what would you say was the thing that you liked the most about the movie? Or what was the most enjoyable thing?
Taboo yelling at people who deserve it.
I also very much enjoyed her slaps.
Yeah. Yeah. So just Boss Lady Taboo, I think, was really fun. And I mean, I have yet to meet a person who does not love this actor. And to
Yes.
see her getting to be in charge, not the mastermind really, but just in charge at her profession. And um, I just loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved watching her be a full-grown woman. And I'm sure, had many roles where she gets to be a full-grown woman. That's not unusual for her, I don't think. But I liked that this one was not, this is not Lady Macbeth, right? This is less
Right.
dramatique. It was fun seeing her be funny.
Hmm.
I have certainly not seen even half of her films, I'm sure. So this mode was new for me. I love her with Bebo.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a review somewhere that said, in the company of greatness, Kriti Sanon sort of rises to the occasion. And I would agree. I thought she did a great
Yes.
job. Like the other two are maybe better, but we also have already bought in more with them, I think, or at least you and I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought everyone did a really fun job. They knew what kind of movie they were in. They understood the assignment. It was so, a friend on Twitter used the word compact, bogey number 2 on Twitter. If you are there and do not follow him, I thought this was just a delight. And then it was over and it was perfect.
It was amazing. I loved the chemistry between all three of them. It really made for the movie because
Yeah.
the story was great. By the way, trivia, I read that the story was inspired by that movie, the really old movie that no one has seen that Kaisal Gustad had made that had Amitabh Bachchan, Padma Lakshmi, Madhu Sapre, and a very, very young Katrina Kaif. Boom. But
Oh,
I've
That
never
is an
seen that movie.
infamous movie. I have never seen it either.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it's one of those movies that
Huh.
everyone has heard of, but
Yeah.
I don't actually know anyone who's seen it, but that's what the IMDb trivia said, and I was like, "Really interesting." But yeah, I think that the story was amazing. The dialogues were phenomenal. I
Yeah.
thought the subtitles were great, but
Yeah.
the actual dialogues, because they weren't like exactly
Sure.
translated,
Sure.
but the actual dialogues were so good. They were so witty. They were such in
Good.
jokes. There was a lot of like axioms and proverbs that you've heard, but said
Ah.
in a really perfect way.
Okay.
I was really impressed with this director, Rajesh Krishnan, because I just thought they did such a good job. And I forget who the editor is, but I really liked how fast paced it was. It didn't lag at any
Tight,
moment.
tight, tight.
It was tight. It was like 2 hours, 15 minutes, done. Boom, you're out of the theater.
Yeah.
No songs or any of that, just like just one song at the very end, at the end credits, in which everybody looked spectacular. So it was just everybody was firing on all cylinders. And I was actually WhatsApping Beth on my way home from the movie theater. Don't worry, I was not driving. But I could not find costume credits anywhere. And I really want to give kudos
Yeah.
to whoever the costume designer was. Given that this is an Anil Kapoor production, my guess is that his daughters have to be involved
Yeah.
somehow. Ria has to be involved somehow, but they all looked so good.
Yeah.
They were Karina especially was like all woman and beautiful and took my breath away. And Tabu looked so hot. And it's so nice to see a woman in her 50s being like hot and fierce. And she looks her age. She's not
Hmm.
like Botoxed and pillared and puffy beyond belief, but she was like, she looked her age and she was hot and sexy. And I loved, like, spoiler alert, I loved her like bedroom scene with her husband Kapil Sharma. It just made me giggle. But the chemistry between these three women was just
It's
amazing.
really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And I did feel a little bit guilty because the last time you and I had spoken about crew, I had said I didn't think that Kriti was gonna like live up to them, because
I,
I was like,
I didn't think she would.
yeah. But I thought she did a really good
I
job.
think
She
she did
really
too.
held her
Yeah.
own. And
Yeah.
I think being able to do that with Bebo and Tabu in the same frame is really hard. But I think she did a really good job of playing this like slightly naive, slightly more idealistic person from like a small town in Haryana who's
Hmm.
had to make a lot of like compromises. I thought she pulled it off really well.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
did you think of the other characters in this movie?
Saswata Chatterjee is one of my
Hmm.
absolute favorites. So every time he rolls in, I'm thrilled to see him. I've seen a few of his Bengali films as well, where
Hmm.
he's a detective in a series, for example. That's right. He's great. He's absolutely a pro. Um, and it was, yeah, it was just I didn't know who was going to be in this movie at all, except for the three lead women and then Diljit Dosanjh. But um, Kublai Karbanda was that
I
could have
was
been
so
anyone, but it was
surprised.
great to see him. It's been a long time since I've seen him in
I
anything, I think.
know.
Um, I did not recognize Kapil Sharma, but I mean, once I saw the name, I was like, oh, of course.
Right.
And the people next to me were really into him. That was really, there were a
Really?
group of women who I would guess were either young graduate students or undergraduate students at the university here. And they were just delighted by him. Like when he came on the screen, they were all, um,
Like
like
agog?
yeah, like a Twitter and everything. Now maybe that was because they think he's ridiculous or something. I don't know but it seemed like a very positive reaction to me.
Interesting.
Um, who else was there? Oh, I don't know this actor's name, but Maya, the security guard who goes after them.
Mala, that's Trupti
Mala,
Khamkar. She's
Mala.
so good.
She deserves I need to learn that name. I thought she was really good. She has one of the more difficult roles in the film, I would say,
Yeah.
and she I got the sense from subtitles that some of her lines were even funnier in Hindi than they were coming off in English, but I still thought she was funny.
Yeah,
And
she was
it was great
amazing.
to see her.
Really young, and she's actually my friend's friend, so I very vaguely know of her, and so
Mhm.
I've heard of her through my friend, of like her struggling and being in theater and trying to make it into
Mm.
movies and things like that. And I think because we have like a common connection, I've
Oh,
messaged her multiple times in the past, and she's always been nice enough to respond to me.
oh,
Like the last time I messaged her was after watching Govinda Naam Mera, that had Vicky Kaushal and
yeah,
Kiara Advani and Bhumi Pednekar, and Tripti Khamkar was really funny in that too. So I thought she was so good, and especially when she's like striking fear in their hearts, like she had a great chemistry as well. And that's one thing I like, that the one person who's really on to these three women and is absolutely not bamboozled by them is
right.
actually a woman. I love
Yeah,
that aspect because it's
yeah,
actually Diljit Dosanjh who should really be figuring it out, but because of his like whatever, spoiler alert, crush on Kriti, he's kind of like refusing to see um
yeah,
the fact that they're like the criminals. So I
yeah.
like that the main person that was trying to like catch them and nab them was Tripti. And I was wondering if I did think of the ghost of dearly beloved Bapi Lahiri in that scene where she takes the hammer and she's like angrily starts like beating up all the chocolates looking for the gold, and she's like, "Kahan hai
Yeah.
sona? Sona kahan hai?" And I was like, somewhere up in the skies is our dearly
Uh,
departed beloved Bapi Lahiri asking the very same question, "Kahan hai sona?"
yeah.
Yeah. Upar.
Indeed. I, yeah, I did not expect this film to maybe be as this isn't quite the right word, but thoughtful as to have it be
Mm,
a woman who's really the one after them. But I
yeah,
love that they did. I was so glad that they did.
yeah,
That made a difference to me. Like that made it even better.
yeah.
It was really
I
fun.
also loved like her micro expressions where you can see every time that she talks to like Tabu and Kriti Sanon and Bebo, Tabu and Kriti Sanon respond to her like in a normal way, and Bebo every single time does that whole like, "What? Me? How could I?" Sort of like batting her eyelashes thing, which probably works on the men, right? And Tripti
Yeah.
Kamkar's like, "Yeah, right. That shit ain't gonna work
Yeah.
with me,
Yeah.
okay? Like
Yeah.
this bitch going down." So
Yeah.
I love that thing where it's like she's the one woman who's like, really save it for the men because they're fools and they'll believe you. So I love that too.
I also really loved, spoiler alert, that it wasn't their colleagues who narked on them.
I know. That shocked me because I was fully convinced it was like that the other
The
flight
mom,
attendants
the single
were like,
mom. Yeah.
yeah, who were like gossiping about them. So that was interesting as well.
Hmm.
I like the fact also that the men in this movie were obviously important, that they had roles to play, but they didn't take away, like it was just the right amount of them.
Mm,
I was afraid that Diljit Dosanjh, because he's such a big star and because he's so popular, I was afraid that they were just gonna let him try to steal the show and
mm.
like what we say in Mumbai, footage khana, like where he's just gonna try to like chew all the scenery up.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
was very understated,
No.
very nuanced, didn't try
Hmm.
to like get the upper hand. And I kind of like that too, because a lot of times I think with movies that have women as the central protagonist, they'll add in these men, but then they'll try to make the man the hero. And
Yeah,
in a way, the only so-called hero in this movie that is kind of antagonistic to these three women happens to be also a woman. So I
yeah,
like that, though, that the men
yeah.
didn't get to do too much. Oh my God! Speaking of women, what did you think of the spoilt brat?
She was funny.
She was amazing.
She
I
was very
loved
funny.
her.
Yeah.
That scene where Bebo keeps bringing her the drink, like the doctor drink, and she keeps turning it back to
Too
orange,
orange,
too
too
sugary,
sweet.
too green. I wanted to slap her. And like she makes such a valiant effort to get away from them.
There
And
was
then
a
at the end, when I think it's Tabu or maybe it's Bebu who says, for a person who doesn't eat anything, she has a lot of strength. How is she so strong? And she's like, protein shake, bitch.
I loved the detail that every time people had to bring her another drink, it was still on a tray. Because
Yeah.
of course it is on a private airplane. That for some reason made me laugh a
Yeah.
lot.
I like that bit too, where the pilot who is like clearly medically unfit. I don't know if he's meant to be like an asthmatic or he has
Mm,
hypertension or something. And they have that like weighing scene where like every flight attendant is being weighed like
yeah,
for the weight check. And then he's like, "Oh, she's unfit." And Tabu like, "Really?" Meanwhile, this guy's like wheezing the entire time. And then
yeah,
that was really funny.
yeah.
Um, it was a really good movie. I was kind of shocked. I was
Yeah.
expecting to enjoy it because I love Tabu so much and I love Bebo so much. And watching them on screen is always a treat, especially Tabu. The woman has never ever disappointed me
Mm,
in a single movie. But I was shocked by how much I enjoyed this film. Like
yeah.
I can absolutely, without caveat, recommend this movie to every single person and say, please go
Mm,
watch it. It's a lot of fun. I was actually
hmm.
trying to sell it to my husband because he didn't come with me. And I was telling him it's
Oh.
kind of like this is a terrible comparison, but it's kind of like The Hangover,
Mm.
but for women.
I never
But it's
watched
far
Hangover, but
okay, but it's far smarter,
mm,
and far more thoughtful and far more well written than The Hangover, but it's like it's fun. I liked some of the scenes in it that were about, the difficulties that the middle class has and about being furloughed and things like that.
mhm,
I mean, I know a lot of people who worked for United Airlines back when I lived in Chicago, and
mm,
I remember 9/11, and I remember, all of the chatter that happened around it. And I have family and friends who work for the airlines in India. So I do know about how hard it was, how people were getting furloughed left and right. A lot
mm,
of people actually did quit the aviation
yeah.
industry. And I know people who went into I know one girl who basically was a really high senior at Jet Airways in India. And she basically started her own like cake baking business out of her
Wow.
home because she hadn't been paid. And she was like,
Ah,
there's only so much I can, I just can't keep
yeah.
showing up to work like this. So I like that there was this one line I think that maybe Tabu had where it was translated to, you can only screw over the middle class so much
Mm,
until they eventually. So it was definitely an eat the rich moment for me. Viva la
yeah.
revolucion!
Yeah.
And I loved how the chairman was modeled on clearly modeled on Vijay Mallya
Yeah.
of Kingfisher Airlines
Yeah.
fame and the whole living off of frauds and schemes and I mean Vijay Mallya still has never been extradited. He still
Mm,
lives a wonderfully lavish life after having bankrupted so many people. Lalit Modi, Nirav Modi, you can add the list, the list of business moguls who have just scammed and left is really long. So I like those jabs at them. It was
mhm,
petty revenge that I enjoyed.
mhm. Yeah. I guess my only complaint about the film, which did not ultimately matter, was, and this is true of other sort of heist con sort of movies, is that sometimes it's just that everything went a little too smoothly, too quickly, too easily.
Yeah.
And that was frustrating to me because I'm not sure how long we're supposed to imagine that they were doing this. Let's say it's half a year, which I think is generous.
Yeah, I was
I
thinking
just,
six
these
months
are
or
not
something.
seasoned criminals other than
Mm.
Jazz is a pickpocket. We don't, I don't, this is quite high stakes that they find themselves in and that they choose to sort of do at the end in their vigilante mission. And I kind of wish it had been able to wind down in another way. There was a
Mhm.
little more in keeping with the world that had been established to that point, but also it was fun and I don't care.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I actually don't like heist movies. I've always
Oh, I do
disliked
enjoy
them.
heist movies.
Really, I don't
Hmm.
like heist movies only because the amount of suspension of disbelief you have to do is just too high for me.
It is
I'm
high.
willing to suspend disbelief to some extent, but movies like Ocean's 11 or whatever, they take it to a level where I'm like, really? No.
Yeah.
And then, all those scenes in heist movies where you have people robbing these banks and they're rappelling down and there's these laser things. It's just so ridiculous to me that in comparison, I liked this one because at least they weren't rappelling while snipers are shooting at them or
And the
something. So
yeah, and chocolates are an attainable
yeah,
thing that these people would be familiar with. Having them in their suitcase makes sense. Like
yeah,
where they decide to hide the chocolates at one point also made sense. I don't know if it
yeah,
makes sense from a criminal point of view, but it made sense in terms of what these people would be likely to think of, I
right.
think. So that, yeah, I liked it all was sort of reasonable relatively.
Yeah. It was funny how many red flag men there were in this movie, though. I mean, apart from the obvious criminal masterminds,
Mm,
uh, the chairman and then the
yeah.
guy, Jedi Pehlavit's role and all of that. But even Tabu's brother,
That's Rajesh Sharma.
Who is Rajesh Sharma?
The the Mr. Mittal that their middleman.
Wait, that's not Jaideep
No,
Ahlawat?
no, that's Rajesh Sharma.
Really?
They do
Wow,
kind of
he
look
looks so.
similar now that you say that,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I kept thinking it was Jaideep Ahlawat at the same time. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to do like a like side by side comparison of the two. How interesting. Okay.
So he was,
Um,
remember he was in what was the, oh God,
the
Darlings
yes,
as the
but
butcher.
Jaideep Ahlawat was in the movie that was set in Kalimpong though, the
Yes,
one that had Bebo in it.
yes.
Right. They're so okay, yeah, they're so similar to me for some reason. They have the same physicality. They should play twin brothers in like a Manmohan Desai inspired movie that I'm sure you would enjoy.
All
Um,
movies should be like that.
yes.
Okay, not all, but more should be like that.
No, but like I like that Tabu had that brother that was clearly so useless, like when he showed up at her house again drunk. And I like the fact that
Yeah.
she supported her sister-in-law over
Hmm.
him.
What do you think was the point of that little sort of mini arc of those two? Like obviously when we end up in the Dubai, wherever
The
they are really,
hotel,
yeah,
yeah.
to get that obviously the sister-in-law being there was helpful to them. But but is that the only reason that that little plot existed, do you think?
I felt like to me it was kind of trying to show how Tabu's always tried to do right by everyone. You
Okay.
know, she's always been like she talks about how she and her husband used to be rich, but then because of some property disputes or whatever, they lost all of that. But they've never ever tried to make money through like dishonest means. They've always tried to like look after each other as
Mm,
well as others, right? Like her brother is clearly useless, but she's always tried to support him because she says in one dialogue to her husband that after my parents died, I should have done more to take care
right,
of him.
right.
And then he makes some comment about why you always become a Nirupa Roy around him. So and then that I think also ties in with the dialogue she says later, where she says, I've lived my entire life for other people. And now I kind of want to live for myself. So I think it was more to
Mm,
establish her as this very like upright person who, despite not being like a mother in the traditional self, you see her mothering a lot. Like you
hmm.
see her mothering her useless brother, you see her mothering her sister-in-law who needs her, you see her mothering the junior crew in there.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
she's ma'am, right? She's Gitu
yeah,
ma'am. Like she's always kind of
yeah.
like taking care of them. Like when that one girl bursts into tears because she hasn't got her salary, and then Tabu kind of like rises to the occasion. So I feel like she's always been this like maternal, warm, kind
Hmm.
person. And like even she's reached her limits. So that moment where she just like slaps him, that was very satisfying to me. I
Yeah.
was like, if only she could make an entrance into one of the Devdas movies and slap Devdas.
I'm telling you, taboo yelling at people and slapping people, uh,
Very entertaining.
new micro genre I am here for.
Really? I even enjoyed her yelling at Kriti Sanon and trying to like snap her out of her terror, where she's like, I don't know how to land this plane. So that was very gratifying because, okay, being a dum dum, which we have established before, when
Mm.
they got onto the plane, and I was like, okay, so Bebo and Tabu are impersonating those actual flight attendants from the VIP private air chartered plane or whatever. But it's like, but where's Kriti? And then dum dum me didn't, connect the dots. And then
Same,
she turns around.
same. Until the phone goes to the captain, I was like, where I figured she was on the ground doing something or other. Oh, why I didn't figure that out.
This is why you and I should never join the police. We should never be
Oh no,
detectives.
no,
We would be the
never.
bumbling. We would be Thompson and Thompson from the Tintin comics.
Mm.
Your solution to every crime would be twins. The twins did it.
I
There's
would
a
always
Jurwa
ask
bhai.
at least, any chance there's a twin?
Exactly. I also really loved the fact that they like remixed all of these like iconic songs from the 90s,
Hmm.
especially Choli Ke Piche.
Yeah.
Because like especially Choli Ke Piche is so iconic. It's like, Ila Arun's voice, Madhuri Dixit's dance, Saroj Khan's choreography. And it was like a song that made such waves. Like it was banned and boycotted and like it was such a big deal when it came out. And there were like, charges of obscenity. And now that same song is remixed and it's like no one bats an eyelid. Like, we moved on. And Bebo
No,
looked
people are just
so
outraged
good.
about the fact that it's been reused instead,
Yeah.
but
Are people outraged about that? I thought the
I
remix was
gather, I
great.
haven't really seen much, but I gather
Oh,
some people are annoyed, but some
oh
people are always
no.
annoyed at everything, so
Yeah,
whatever.
they are. But like listening to Ila Arun's voice going Galli Seher mein maro ghagro jo ghume, I'm like, Ila Arun, like that is another like badass lady that I love.
I would listen to her sing absolutely any and everything. She's one of my favorites for sure.
She's
So
amazing.
distinctive, so cool.
Yeah.
So like,
Her daughter, Ishita Arun, I think her name is. She is like really big on Instagram. She does all these like reels
mm.
and stuff. And she recently did a reel that I thought was so hilarious. It was basically like what normal Indian moms say, and then what my mom says. And so it's like whatever Indian moms say, and then there's like a clip of uh, uh,
One of her
Ila
songs.
Arun saying "Galli se her mein maro ghagro jo ghume" or whatever. And at the very end, you should see, I'll send you the reel. And at the
Okay,
very end of the reel, it's like Ila Arun actually comes and dances with her daughter. It was
love
really cool.
it.
I was like, yeah, you have one cool mom for sure. Um, but yeah, that was fun. I love the costumes. Did you like the way these people were styled?
I did overall. There were a few exceptions, I feel like, but yeah, in general, I liked it very much. And it, again, to my eyes anyway, made sense.
Hmm.
It wasn't like we're pretending, someone, we're pretending the clothes are not as expensive as they really are or whatever.
Right.
And obviously being in a uniform for a chunk of it makes
Yeah.
kind of mitigates that a little bit. I loved those uniforms. I thought they looked like they could be real.
They looked like like a mishmash of like Etihad and Royal Jordanian
Oh,
with
with
that like
yeah.
thing and they looked so cute in that. It was
I loved
adorable.
how they all had their hats at the angle and and even when they were on the bus leaving the airport, they all
Yeah.
kept that on there. And I want to know how that was done.
They probably use, my guess is they use like bobby pins or something to hold it
They
in
must,
place,
but you
right? They
didn't
have
see any from
to.
the side. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I want to know more about how that could happen. It was very cool.
Yeah, and everyone's hair looked good.
Mhm.
I just thought everyone looked amazing. Some of
Mhm.
Kriti Sanon's wardrobe choices I thought were a little bit like questionable. I was like, okay.
But as the young one from a small town, maybe that tracks. Yeah, hers were the ones where I was least
Yeah.
I didn't dislike all of them, and when I say
Yeah.
dislike, I just mean for the character. But there were still a couple where I was like, but you know,
It was a bit like it was like the way that Disha Patani dresses in real life. It was a lot of those like ribbed tank tops that are like 4 inches above the navel, and I was just kind
yeah,
of like, okay.
the kids
Um,
love the rib net these days.
I hate the rib nets. But it was the other thing I really liked is that how each girl had her own very distinct personality. Bebo is Bebo. Bebo always gonna be. Every time I think of Bebo, I think of that line from her movie Heroine. Terrible movie, by the way, but that line,
Yes.
"Main heroine who."
I get that stuck in my head sometimes. I don't know why. I've only seen it the once.
It's so terrible, but it's very like meh heroine who. Yeah, but every time Bebo came, that's how I felt. Like the woman was born to be a star. Like she's a very good actor, but she's also such a star.
Yeah.
But I like that her personality was so like almost like hedonistic and desperately wants to be rich at any cost. Like her
Mhm.
whole the dialogue about what happened at the Titanic, all the rich people boto mein chale gaye. I was like, I've never heard of anyone say "boto mein chale gaye" about the Titanic. But yeah, I loved how they portrayed her as this person that really she's been poor, she's been rich, and she'd much rather be rich.
Yeah.
But they also gave her a heart, and they gave her
Mhm.
loyalty to her friends, and the whole story with Kulbhushan Kharbanda, I think was just right. It could have
Yeah,
been a
not
little
too much.
creepy, yeah, but it
Mhm.
was just right. And then Tabu was great.
Oh, and Bebo's kindness to the cleaner.
Which pays off in the end.
It does, but even when I didn't think it was going to, I just loved
Yeah.
that. But it never, even when you find out it does pay off, it doesn't seem like an exchange-based relationship. I think she
Yeah.
genuinely is kind because she didn't
Yeah.
know she was going to run a gold smuggling
Right.
or
As one doesn't. I mean, like,
need
I'm
that.
going to work tomorrow. I have no intentions whatsoever of running a gold smuggling ring, Beth. But if I do, if on my lunch break or something, I'm like, screw this. I want to become rich quick. I want to start a gold fund. I will be sure to ping you immediately, and I will ping Amrita, and the three of us can start one.
I
So
can't, I have no poker face. Don't involve me. You'll be sorry. I will not be helpful. Not on purpose. I just
Okay, just don't tip anyone off about
okay.
us then.
Yeah, but just don't tell me.
Okay.
You could sew the gold into the hem of all these
Oh,
skirts on the big dresses you deal with and stuff.
okay.
I think I
Sounds
must
good.
have seen that in a movie somewhere where someone does that, but
Yeah, you must have.
you could hide those
It's
gold
got to
bars
be
under.
some. Yeah, they'd be so heavy though. Imagine those hems just like
Yeah.
drag in. I did enjoy seeing all of those gold bars though. I love seeing the gold bars
Pleasingly
like
shiny.
stitched, yeah, to his banyan.
I love in 70s movies when there's smugglers and they refer to those as biscuits.
Yes, gold biscuits.
Gold biscuits.
So good. There's always that guy involved, the VAT 69 guy, as I call
Oh
him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
if
always
this
Hanuman ki
movie was
murti.
missing some VAT 69, but
Yes.
was the hotel
Hmm.
in what was the name of their fake country? Whatever.
Al Burj.
Alberge. Was that the same hotel that they're in Happy New Year?
It could be, right? It
The
looked like
from the
that.
outside, I kept thinking like I've seen this before, and I feel like that's where. But am I going to go look on Happy New Year? I'm not.
No, that movie's terrible.
Tell me in the comments if that is true. I just this film is kind of a bonbon itself, right? It is a ball of gold delightfulness
A
that
little
I
Ferrero Rocher.
yeah, but way better than I don't understand Ferrero Rocher.
Really?
I don't dislike them, but that's never going to be the candy I go for first. Like I've never
Interesting.
purchased them in my life.
Ooh, what is your number one candy? I must know.
On a day-to-day basis, it's a peanut M&M.
Ah, okay.
I mean, preferably more than one. Um,
Right.
you know,
Preferably a
we've
handful.
just had Easter, so it's the Cadbury mini eggs, the little candy
Mm.
coated.
Oh
And I've
dear.
only bought two little packets this Easter, so I have to go try to find some more before they're gone. Because in the US, those do not exist all year round. I know in other countries
Mm.
you can get that basic Cadbury thing all the time, and we cannot. Um,
The candy
yeah,
that really throws me off, have you ever had those sugared almonds? Not sugared almonds, the almonds that have like the chocolatey coating and they're like pastel colored.
a Jordan almond.
Yeah, I hate those.
Oh, I like them.
Really? Because
Yeah.
like I like almonds and I like
hmm
chocolate, but somehow
hmm
when I put that in my mouth, I'm like, this is wrong.
They're very hard, which is
They're very
sometimes
hard.
if you crunch them and you're like, oh, that hurt me.
And it's just like a flavor blend that doesn't work for me, where
Many
I'm
people
like,
do
okay,
not
I'll
like,
just have chocolate and I'll have almond. I do not
yeah.
want them to be
Those are
mixed.
not well loved, I don't think, but
Yeah.
at least in some aspects of US culture, they are a thing that appears at weddings.
Oh,
Um, like you get a little bag at your table or
the
whatever. I
little
don't,
bow on it.
yeah, exactly. But they're kind of like the wedding version of the Christmas fruitcake that nobody wants. I
Mm.
feel like, although I like fruitcake and I like Jordan
I love
almonds.
Christmas fruit. I especially like Christmas fruitcake as long as it has a hefty serving of booze in it.
Ah,
Because otherwise, what's the point?
I mean, I like
Like,
the sugary fruits too. I like it all.
I like the rum. Like,
What's
have a
your
slice of it and have some, like, chase it down with some port or something.
what's your favorite candy?
Ooh, so after every lunch and after every dinner, I eat a square of Lindt Intense Orange.
Oh,
It is my favorite chocolate ever, and
hmm
I buy like 10 of them at one go at the grocery store because, as I said, I eat one square after lunch and one square after
Nice,
dinner. Sometimes I will
nice.
have one square after breakfast also, but that is my number one favorite
Mm,
chocolate of all time.
mm.
But I also am partial to anything that has like a combination of hazelnut and chocolate. Like that
Ah,
that combo works for me,
They are
which is
delicious.
one of the reasons I like Ferrero Rocher. And like
hmm
cakes that have like chocolate and hazelnut. Mm,
Yeah,
that is a great combo. I
yeah.
actually once saw on Reddit, I once saw this prank that this girl was doing, which this movie reminded me of, where she pranks her dad every year because he loves Ferrero Rocher and they have a bowl of Ferrero Rocher on their dining table at all times. And she
Wow.
opened it and she replaced them like with Brussels sprouts. Like she replaced them with Brussels sprouts. And so like her dad, if he was like not looking and he just like popped on it and he just like spit it out. And that's
Can
what I
you
kept thinking of.
imagine? That's horrible.
That is quite horrible.
Yesterday, I had walked to the local bakery and gotten a scone, and they had the day olds, on the table in the front, and those are cheaper, and that's what I bought yesterday. And
Mm.
I came home with my scone, and I was so excited, and I took a bite. it was blueberry, not chocolate chip. I had thought it was chocolate chip. Blueberry is also very good, but when you're expecting it to be chocolate chip, it's
So
not
I
quite
have a
the same.
friend, Nikki, who is convinced that any fruit-based dessert is a scam. She actually says that. She'll be like, that is a scam because that is a dessert where the adults, bear in mind, this woman is 30. And she's like,
Mm.
the adults are trying to convince you to eat fruit by making it a fruit-based dessert. So that is a scam and I will
So
not eat it.
pie
And
is
I'm
a
like,
scam?
yes, pie is a scam.
Interesting.
She refuse when we go to Thai restaurants together, and I always want to get the sticky rice with mango. She refuses because she said if it's got rice and it's got mango, that's a scam.
That's funny.
Her
That's
like
funny.
list of like
It doesn't
desserts that
matter
she
how much
considers
sugar
are
is
scam.
there.
No, if
Okay.
it's got rice and it's got fruit in it, it's a trick. And she will not be fooled.
All right.
Um, did you do you want there to be a crew too? Because I kind of want there to be a crew too.
I am open to it, but
Okay.
I'm also happy to leave this where it was because I'm not sure what to do next. Like, if they do another
Mhm.
heist, would it also be with an airline?
Right.
Or, I mean, maybe they all are going to be working in the headquarters and they can do like a paperwork-based scam instead of actually physically moving goods or something. Yeah, I'm open, but I don't require it. It sounds like you would really like one.
I would really like one because I was hoping at the end of this movie that, like, as we follow the characters, I was kind of hoping that Tabu does get to move to Goa and start her restaurant because that's
Mm,
her dream. And Kriti
hmm.
Sanon hopefully continues, like, is actually able to land a job as an
Yeah,
airline
be a
pilot.
pilot. Yeah.
And Bebo, I don't think really, I mean, she wants her,
Her
Mogra Lane,
company.
her
Yeah.
business to get off the ground. But it would be so cool if it's like 5 years later, Tabu is like successful in Goa and she owns a restaurant. And imagine one day she's just like, you know, shouting orders at Kapil Sharma in the kitchen. And then like in walk Bebo and Kriti Sanan. And they're like, hey,
Sure.
partner, we have an idea for
Ah,
you. I'd be down for that.
okay.
Or maybe the
Yeah.
Jill Sun just like, I need y'all ladies to do, something like that would be
A
fun.
going based. Oh, maybe they
Yeah.
turn and work for the cops.
Yeah, maybe. Or for the custom service and it's
The
Goa, so
custom
there's a
service. Yeah.
coastline. So maybe there's like
Yeah.
drug smuggling
Yeah.
happening or something, and they're
Yeah.
gonna that would be fun. But
Maybe
I
they'll
was
get involved with Go Go Agone too, and they will help defeat zombies. How's that?
that would be very interesting. Karina with like a big gun would be fun to watch. Karina would be very glamorous, not one hair would be out of place while she was destroying these zombies. I was very heartened to see that this movie's actually gotten a very good opening
Yeah.
because for a while I felt like you and I were the only ones that were chattering about it on
Mm,
WhatsApp because the promotional budget for this movie seems to have been peanuts because they just weren't promoting it as much as some of the other movies like Veer the Wedding and whatnot have been promoted. But
yeah.
supposedly it's become quite a hit. It's been
Good.
making a lot of money in India. It's been making good money here in North America, which I'm happy about because hopefully that means we get to see more of these amazing ladies on screen. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like if you have friends who have never seen a Bollywood movie, this would be a good intro, I think, because
Yeah.
you would get an introduction to some music, but you wouldn't have song sequences, which some people find hard at first.
Hmm.
I'm not saying by any means Bollywood needs to water itself down or anything, but like if you know people and that's their hurdle, you don't have that in this film. And also
Yeah.
it's kind of physically and sort of set up funny enough that you'll get more if you know these proverbs that they're using and stuff, but you don't have to have them in order to enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of it would translate well.
Hmm.
If
Yeah,
you've been
for
on a
sure.
plane, you can appreciate this film, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I also really am quite pleased with what Anil Kapoor as a producer has been doing
I
because
was just thinking about that.
because this is
Yeah.
a joint production between Anil Kapoor and Balaji Telefilms, which is Ekta Kapoor's
Mm-hmm.
company.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude has been like the face of 80s mass cinema for so long. And we
Yeah.
know him from so many of these masala movies. But some of the films that, and I think a lot of the credit actually goes to his daughter, Ria.
Yeah.
But, he's been bankrolling things like Aisha and then Really the Wedding and then Thank You for Coming, which I was very surprised to have enjoyed because at first I was like, this is going to be
Mm-hmm.
stupid. But then I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this movie. So I'm like kind of impressed with what Anil Kapoor Productions has been up to. And Balaji Telefilm goes either way. Like I associate them with a lot of the weird, like C grade-ish kind of stuff. But then I also associate Balaji Telefilm with some really cool movies as well. So I don't know if I necessarily associate Ekta Kapoor with any kind of creative vision per se. But I'm very interested to see Anil Kapoor's trajectory as a producer going forward.
Yeah, I'm looking. He also did Fun Khan, which I kind of enjoyed.
I've not
No,
seen that.
even with Ashwarya in it, you have not
I
seen
know I
it.
haven't seen it. I think it's because when I saw the trailers, it just looked very schlocky to me. And I just
Mm,
didn't I felt like Anil Kapoor was going to come on too strong and too weird in it, and I felt like Rajkumar Rao and Aishwarya were going to be a weird couple. Like there was nothing about that
they
movie
are
that
a very weird couple. Very
right.
weird but I think you should, I mean, watch it on a Sunday afternoon or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Just it's, um, and
Also, I didn't quite. I love Aishwarya, but I didn't buy her as like a pop star.
yeah. And then of course, Coop Surratt, which I
Right.
loved. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
he's interesting choices. He was also a producer on Gandhi, My Father.
is that the one that had Akshay Khanna in it?
Yes, it is.
I have not seen that movie either.
And Shortcut, The Con is On, which I could not get into.
I do not know
And
who's in that movie
that's
even.
also Akshay Khanna and
Huh.
Arshad Varsi. And then there's also No Problem, which is a film I vaguely remember existing, but
That is not ringing
which
a bell
has,
at all.
well, it's an Anis Basmi film. So
Ah, okay. No,
it
I like
has,
these women-centric ones that Anil
yes,
Kapoor has been
exactly.
producing, which I am very inclined to credit Rhea Kapoor with most of that.
Yeah, it was great.
I think she just basically is like, "Okay, give me a blank check," and he's like, "Okay," and then he gives her the money. Is how I imagine it, which is great. Like if
I
Rhea Kapoor wants to
mean,
keep producing like this, I'm all for it.
yeah. I thought he had been a producer on Ache Ledke, but I guess he wasn't.
Oh, even I thought that he had something I mean, I know he acted in it and Sonam was in it,
Yeah.
but for some reason I thought he was also part of like the financing of it or something.
Hmm. According to Wikipedia, no, but it's the Vinod Chopra.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, this was more films like this, it's just it's a
Yes.
comedy with women in it.
It's so good. I really loved it. I loved how modern it was. I loved that it just showed these like urban working women who have, the same like cares as everyone else and they need to pay the bills and they have dreams and
Hmm.
ambitions and they have obstacles in their paths and they're, just normal regular people. I love this thing that's been happening in Bollywood for the last like 10, 15 years or so where women are, portrayed as sexual beings where they've had encounters with people, they're not apologizing for it. It's
Yeah.
not even mentioned as like a big deal or anything. It's like, yeah, that happened. Yeah, big deal. So I'm loving all of that. More of this, please. Yeah, very fun.
Hmm.
Shockingly, surprisingly fun.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to more like this. And I really truly hope that it becomes a gigantic hit, only because I know that at the end of the day, people can appreciate a film as much as they want, and but at the end of the day, the audience needs to come to the theaters and they need to pay
Yeah.
for it, and only they pay for it is the film gonna. I'd rather watch something like this than one of those like YRF spy worse whatever stuff that they keep churning out. I'm so over it.
It was nice to see that they're already partnered with Netflix, so that means this will be,
Oh, they are.
mhm, this
That's
will be
cool.
available easily for around the
Very cool.
world, right? Which is great.
Yeah. It's also funny, like I don't think I've seen a lot of films that are like set so heavily in the sky. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously there's like Snakes on a Plane and stuff like that, but that's like so
Hmm.
old. There aren't a lot of movies that they make about like flight crews and stuff.
I loved that we saw the storage area where they're going and grabbing all the toilet paper and peanuts and everything. Like
Yeah.
I've never thought, I'm like, yeah, where do they keep all those things? Interesting.
Yeah, was that supposed to be like some sort of warehouse or something?
I guess. I mean, you see
Yeah.
those warehouses on the edge of the air by the runways and
Yeah.
all, but I'd never thought about it.
No, it was very cool. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that too. I loved when she was like, "Okay, grab a garbage bag and start putting like peanuts in it." And Kriti Sanon is like, "What are we gonna do with the peanuts?" And she's like, "We're gonna sell them on the traffic
Celebrate.
signals."
Yeah.
Every time Tabu had like a snappy retort in front of them, she was like, "Do as I say." I love this whole
Hmm.
like boss lady, but like jaded, so over everybody's shit kind of like thing that
Yeah.
she was portraying. She was just, I was like, can Tabu please like hire me in some capacity? Like, could I be her personal assistant? Could
It'd
I
be
just be her
hard.
key? What?
I think it'd be a hard job.
I know. I could just follow her around with like a little fan and like make sure her dresses are like blowing in the wind or whatever. I'm willing to do that. I can be like a spot girl or whatever. The woman is just fantastic. I can't wait until we do like our Tabu episode.
Yeah. Okay, I'll save my question for that episode then.
Oh, no, no, tell me because
Well,
it'll
I
be a
just
while before we get to
she's
Tabu.
she's one of those people. Now, granted, I am not, I enjoy vintage film gossip, but current film gossip, I don't care about whatsoever. I mean, personal lives and stuff. I've never heard anything about her personal life.
Ooh, have you not heard the very infamous Nagarjun
No.
rumors?
No. Okay.
So that's like that is probably the
Ah,
most famous one. Like she
okay.
is supposedly famously single because she's
Right.
never really been single because she's apparently been in a relationship with South Star Nagarjun for like a really long time. And apparently his wife Amla has quasi accepted the situation.
Hmm.
And apparently Tabu has a house in Hyderabad. And when she's in Hyderabad, she's kind of like his de facto wife or whatever. And that's the reason she's never gotten hitched or anything like that.
Okay.
That is probably the most, that's probably the most like salacious rumor about her.
Huh.
Actually, that's probably the only rumor about Tabu. But it's a long standing rumor. Like they've supposedly been in a relationship for like close to two
Interesting.
decades now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's probably the only thing.
Hmm.
Okay, so if I had to ask you, what is your favorite Babel film of all time?
Oh gosh. Uh, what's you go because I can't even think. Let me think about it.
I really like her in Omkara. Um, but I think my number one Babel movie would probably be Jab We Met because to me, Geet is like very iconic, and I love
She
sad Babel
is.
because it makes me sad when she cries, but I
Oh,
enjoy crying. So like sad Babel, and you know all the sad songs that are picturized on her. I really like her in Jab We Met.
I'm actually looking at her filmography because for some reason I'm just thinking like uh, she is a collection of impressions to me, I guess, like of moments or something
Mhm.
more than like I can't pick one single film. I do really like her performance in Agent Vinod,
Yeah.
which obviously doesn't have the comedy at all. And I think she is fun in comedy, but I would have to look.
I remember when you and I first became friends and you were obsessed with Kushi. And you would talk about Kushi every chance you got. And I'd be like, why is she going on and on about Kushi? It's not even that great.
My my I haven't watched that in a long time, but so that was maybe the first or one of the first DVDs I ever had of an Indian
Yeah.
film because I was visiting my parents in Blacksburg, Virginia, another, college
Mhm.
town with a big university in it. And I went into the international grocery store and they had a movie section that they were, I guess, paring down their collect or selling the old ones or something. So
Yeah.
I bought that DVD for like $4. I didn't know anything about it, but I was so excited to own an Indian film on
Yeah. And one of the earliest movies you actually saw was
Ah,
Mujhse Dosti Karoge, and that
that's
had
right.
Bebo in it
She
as
was in
well.
my very first Indian film that I ever saw, or
No,
first
the first
mainstream Hindi
Indian movie
film.
was Asal, though, right?
Huh?
Wasn't the first Indian movie you saw Tal at the
No, that
Roger
was the
Ebert?
first one I saw in the theater.
Okay, okay.
Majid Dosti
Gotcha.
Pierogi was actually the first
Interesting. Yeah,
like
so Bebo and you go
mainstream
a
Indian. We do. And in
a
that she
long
has
way back.
the famous line, leave it to Tina, which I still think
Yes.
is hilarious. Yeah, I just when I look at her filmography, really, I mean, it's something about the collection of impressions of her and the starness of her maybe that I
Yeah, the
respond
flueness of
to
her.
most. I mean, she's really good in Vera Wedding, I would say.
Yeah, she's really good. I
Um,
love her in Urta Punjab as the doctor.
sure, sure.
What's your favorite Tabu movie? That's a harder question to answer because
Namesake,
Tabu is spectacular.
probably.
Oh, Ashima Ganguly, I love her so much
She's
in
so
that.
good in that.
So good in that. Yeah.
I mean, she's
What
great
would
in everything. And
I think mine would be Makbul though.
for a long time, she would just be the, whenever someone was like, ugh, why, like she and Konkana Sen Sharma were the answer to every question about like, we need more movies for this person, or like this person can save women's roles or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And it was
Yeah.
and I'm currently watching Killer Soup
Ah,
with
okay.
Konkana.
Are you
So it's
enjoying it?
fun to see them, both of them on the same day. I am, and I am about 2/3 of the way through, and it is getting increasingly violent, and I might have to tap out before it's over because
Okay.
it's getting to be a bit much for me.
Okay.
But I think it's extremely enjoyable. And Nasser,
Hmm.
so good. I mean, not a
Really?
surprise that he's very
Yeah.
good, but I haven't seen that many of his films, and everything I've seen him in, I think he's like grumpy uncle or granddad or something like that. So I think this is my first time seeing him with an actual meaty role,
Hmm.
and he's amazing, obviously. But Konkana
Yeah.
is really, I mean, everybody's really good in it, but and I would recommend it, especially if you are not squeamish, but
Right.
there's some violence in it. Um,
Okay.
but I'm curious enough about how it's all going to shake out that I probably will finish it, but maybe I'll just have to watch it in the daytime.
You could always like forward some of the more grisly
Yeah,
stuff.
Sujoy from Khandan has seen
Mm.
it. I know we were tweeting to each other about it the other day, so I might ask him if he can like roughly spoiler me so I can at least give myself a structure to make it through.
Right. Gotcha.
I'm such a baby.
Okay, now I know that you and I love Tabu. I know you and I love Bebo, and Kriti is more of an unknown quantity to us. Um, I've seen very, very few Kriti Sanon films. I have to say, mostly because of her co-stars. Like she like, I mean, if a movie's gonna have Tiger Shroff in it, no offense to our friend, the Tiger Shroff scholar, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna watch it. But of the Kriti Sanon stuff you've seen, is there something that you really like her in?
Well, this is the other thing. I'm looking up what I've seen her in. She was good in Mimi. Was
Mhm.
she national award good?
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, I mean, there must have been other things that were also good. Um,
She just had a hit with Shahid Kapoor, and I'm looking forward to watching that movie once it comes on streaming. It has a really long title, "Teri Baaton Mein Aise
mm,
Uljha Diya," where she plays like a robot android thing that comes to life. And apparently, she was really good in it. And I don't mind Shahid Kapoor, so I might
that's a
see that.
weird sentence that you've just said.
Oh, that is terrible. It's called Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Uljha Diya. I think that is the
Huh.
title. I was like, God, that is a horrific title, and they should have named it something else.
She's also good in Barili Ki Barfi, if I
Yeah, she
recall.
was good in that. I
That's a
remember that
cute, so
one.
maybe that's the sort of, I, I know I've said this before. I think it's funny that these are called like small town films when that small town has several 100,000 people in it.
Right.
Like this is not a village. Um,
Right.
maybe that's where I like her because I think Mimi is also set similarly, but now I'm not quite sure that I
Have you seen
remember.
Rabta? Because Rabta was kind of terrible.
I have, it's dire,
It is very
dire. It's
dire.
a terrible
I
film.
mean, even Sushant Singh Rajput couldn't make me sit through it. I really tried. I did because I liked him. And I was like, okay, I will try for you, Sushant. And I was
That's
like,
a
oh dear,
very
I
bad
God, I can't.
movie.
It's very bad. But hopefully I'm hoping that Kriti also has a much better trajectory now and starts, getting really meaty roles because she did have
Yeah.
a big hit this year with the Teri Baaton Mein Aise Uljha Diya, whatever. And now she's had a lot of success with Cruise. Hopefully we'll see some more of Kriti Sanon. And I feel bad for having like questioned her.
I've never even heard of this film with Shahid, so I will have
Oh,
to.
this तेरी बातों में ऐसे उलझा दिया, whatever.
Yeah, but it's even by Maddox Films, so that's
Yeah,
interesting.
she does a lot. Oh, you know what? I liked her in Bhedia too. She was good in
Oh
Bhedia.
yeah, she was good at media. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
you're
when you
right. So
said
maybe
Maddox, I realized I was like, oh yeah, she
it's
does a
not
lot of films with
her,
them.
it's the projects that she chooses,
Yeah.
maybe. We have to see this film because it has Dimple in it.
Which one? तेरी बातों
Terry
में ऐसे उलझा दिया.
and
I'll say it
Dharmendra.
often enough and then I'll make you say it. And then if you correctly say it, I'll buy you a fruit dessert, which according to my friend Nikki is a scam. I'll scam you with fruit desserts.
I'm pro fruit desserts.
I am
There's
also.
room in my dessert palette for many kinds.
Okay, I'll tell Nikki that you don't think it's a scam because she thinks it is.
I do
Um,
understand that if you think something's a chocolate chip and it turns out to be a raisin, I understand how that's disappointing.
that
I'm
is
sure it's
wrong.
also disappointing if you expected raisins and then you got chocolate chips. I've never heard anyone say that, but I'm sure I like raisins in things, but like, yeah, so I can see how if it's a if you
It's like the
it's an
expectation.
expectation management issue. It's not the fruit's fault.
Yeah, it's like the time I tried to watch Seema for the Kabir Bedi episode and he died in the 30th minute. And I was
Right.
like, what the heck, you guys? I still have 2.5 hours to go. And I
Scam.
watched it for the Kabir Bedi episode. That's a scam.
Scam.
Nice. I had a question I wanted to ask you and I completely forgot because I have the brain of a hummingbird. Um, and also because I just came from the theater.
How was your chole?
Oh my God, it was so good. So
Tell
you guys, I
everybody.
was telling Beth that I couldn't watch the movie this weekend because I had work. But then I was off on Monday, so I thought I'd go watch it. And I timed my movie show time so that I could immediately then walk to the Indian restaurant next door where they had chana bhatura. So I had chana bhatura
Mm.
and they had their special today was Haryali paneer tikka. So I had that
Ooh.
also. So now I'm very, very full. And then because I knew we had to record the episode, I made myself some tea and I've been like guzzling this like gigantic mug of tea. And I'm desperately gonna have to walk my dog now because I'm so full from my food. Oh, and I also had pan. So I've actually
Mm.
had an excellent day. It's been an excellent day and is back to work
That's a
for
great
me
day.
from tomorrow on. I know. It was
Very
like
nice.
movie and a dinner and like fun and tea and a chit chat with you about scams and fruits and all the things. That's a great day.
Jams and fruits.
Oh, and I also wanted to say I'm so excited that because like I have gone on record as saying I absolutely adore Diljit Dosanjh so much, and
Mm.
I was excited to see the little bit of him that we had in crew. But I'm also excited that Amar Singh Chamkila is coming out. It's coming out on
Ah.
Netflix on 12th of April. Imtiaz Ali has made it. Typically, I don't care for Imtiaz Ali stuff because he always has these like weird man children in them,
Mm.
but Diljit Dosanjh is in it, and A.R. Rahman has given the music, and Diljit has sung the songs, and he plays this like famous Punjabi folk singer called Amar Singh
Mm.
Chamkila, whom I had never heard of because I'm not Punjabi and I'm not that familiar with like their folk music or whatever. But anything that has Diljit Dosanjh in it, sign me up. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and hopefully we'll do an episode. More Diljit Dosanjh, please. Okay, well, I think that wraps up this episode of Crew. So thank you for watching this episode or listening to this episode. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hopefully we will see you. Well, not hopefully, we will see you next week with another episode. And thank you for watching. Bye.